What's going on, people of the internet? My name's Denny, or Denny Cigarette, and today I got a very different video for y'all. Today we're going to go over the real reason that overdose deaths have been so prominent, not only in the US, but all around the world. Before we get into that, I'd like to ask that you guys do subscribe. According to YouTube analytics, only 7% of you guys are actually subscribed, so I'd very much appreciate it if you would, hit the sub button. But anyways, guys, let's get into the video. So first off, according to CDC's National Center for Health Statistics, it indicates that in 2023 alone, over 107,543 drug overdose deaths in the United States occurred during 2023. Now, this is very alarming for a lot of reasons. I mean, anyone can piece together why 100,000 deaths is not a good thing, but I strongly feel that this has been caused not only by fentanyl, but the main reason that the opioid crisis and drug crisis started in the first place was not only because of our government, but because of big pharma. So obviously the main contributor of overdose deaths is fentanyl. It's what we hear about all the time. It's obviously a very dangerous drug when mishandled. With that in mind, I'd like to bring up the first point of this entire video essay. That point being that I believe that big pharma and the government hold very big responsibility for the overdose deaths that have occurred. And a great example of this is oxycotin. Oxycotin was a medication containing oxycodone in an extended release formula that was labeled as non-addictive to patients trying to treat chronic pain. However, as people got prescribed these pills, it was later found that they were very addicting and caused many problems. And after these people got addicted, I really believe that drug use was propelled into these white-collar families living in suburbs. And originally, drugs, in my opinion, back in the day, were really seen as a thing that only happened in bad areas. It couldn't even get close to my neighborhood. We live in a safe neighborhood. But as doctors started pushing out these pills to people who lived, in not harsh communities and stuff, it really started to affect, and I hate to say it started to affect white people, which it sounds racist. But if you really look at the facts, no one really paid attention to drug overdoses or drugs in general until it started affecting white people. In my opinion, that is systemic racism, because we should have been paying attention to it way before it just affected the white community. But unfortunately, we can learn from our mistakes and we can move forward. But unfortunately, past mistakes cannot be undone. And I'd like to also mention that unfortunately, when we did start realizing that these overdose deaths were happening and more people were getting addicted to pain pills, it was already too late. The damage had been done by oxycotin and really all the opioids on the prescription market. Hearing public outcry, the U.S. government then took it into their own hands to start restricting pain meds from people. Unfortunately, all this did was really put the power of selling these drugs to criminals' hands. And that's where we see fentanyl come in. Now, fentanyl came in because everything's illegal and we gave power to criminals. When this happens, criminals are really just looking to profit. They're really not looking to, have the safest product for their customers. It's whatever's going to be the most affordable option for them that they can sell in masses that gets people hooked. And unfortunately, that drug was fentanyl. Now, a little known fact about fentanyl is that it's a very potent and meo-opioid agonist, full agonist. And what that means is that it binds to the opioid receptors that our body naturally creates, we have endogenous endorphins that bind to these receptors. But fentanyl does it at a very much higher rate than even heroin or oxycodone. So strong, in fact, it only takes 125 micrograms to achieve a high. According to CDC, the overdose dosage that you need, or the LD50 for 50% of people, is only 2 milligrams. That is basically the equivalent of a few grains of salt, and you can kind of see why overdose deaths are happening, because people don't know how to overdose their drugs when they really don't know if it has fentanyl in it, and because of the potency. And this is the reason I put direct blame on the pharmaceutical companies and the government, because the government, instead of like helping people, adding treatment and stuff like that, all they did was ban it and put the drugs into the criminals' hands. And big pharma knowingly pushed out an addictive drug to American people without telling us that it had addictive potential and potentially could be deadly. With that being said, let's move on to my second point. My second point is that mental illness has gotten very high in the U.S. A great study was done called the pink dot experiment, or purple dot, whatever it was, where scientists would show people pink dots and then show them red ones. And when they saw red ones or a threat, they would press the button. What ended up happening is they found that even when they didn't, after a while, even when they didn't display the red buttons, people were still pressing the switch to identify a red button. Basically, what this means is that no matter what is happening in your day-to-day life, no matter how perfect it is, your brain is always preset to find threats. And you can see that a lot today in American society, and not only American society, all over the place where a lot of these big cities are, where economies are prospering. Well, they're not right now, but that's for another time. But you can see this a lot in overdeveloped places. And you really don't see, yes, mental health exists in underdeveloped places, but you don't see it have such an impact on the people as it does in these very developed places. The second reason mental health is rising, in my opinion, is due to the internet. The internet is one hell of a drug in and of itself. The internet causes many, many problems. It's basically like getting a small hit of dopamine every time you're doom scrolling, every time you see a video. You're getting dopamine hits. And what happens when you take away that dopamine is people end up with things like ADHD because they can't pay attention without getting that little boost of dopamine that they get from the screen. And my third and final point for why mental illness is on the rise is because there's so much more stress in modern day life than there was back in the day. There wasn't really stress to fit in as much when let's say we were hunter-gatherers. There wasn't stress about making it to work. There wasn't stress about, making money. There wasn't stress about paying bills, etc., and etc. And all this stuff adds up and really takes a toll on people's mental states. And along with drug use, mental illness, it really adds up on someone's brain, all the stress and other stuff that's going on in the world. And it has been shown and documented many times over that people with mental illness are much more likely to use drugs than people without mental illness. And because of that reason, I believe that mental illness is has a very high link to people overdosing. The third and final reason that I believe overdose deaths have skyrocketed in the last few years is that people are lacing what look like real pills and putting fentanyl in them, or research benzodiazepines that can also cause respiratory failure. You see it every day in the news. Some kid overdosed because he took Percocet for the first time. Some person took a Xanax bar and died. It's absolutely tragic. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, when we put power into the criminals' hands, when we ban these things, all it does is make it so there's a black market that's uncontrolled. And with an uncontrolled market, you really have no way of telling what's in your thing. How are you supposed to trust the person who's selling it to you? Even if you know someone, you don't know what's going to be in it. So like I always do, there are drug testing kits in the description for y'all to pick up in case you are a drug user. Please, it only costs $100 to $150 and it can save a life. But anyways, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe and like. We are at 29% of the way to my goal of 100 subscribers. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys would, I upload other things on this channel. I upload my story times of my experience with substance use. This channel is all talk about drugs, medications, and all chemicals. So If you would please check out my other videos, that'd be awesome. I'll also put a card up and an end screen so you guys can check out some other videos. But if you made it this far, comment real. And I hope you all have a good one. Deuces.